You ever just hit a wall with a SQL query? You know what you want to ask, but a simple select statement just won't cut it? Well, today we're going to smash through that wall with three super powerful operators: exists, any, and all. These are the tools that'll let you ask way smarter, more complex questions of your data. Let's jump in. All right, let's get right to it with a real-world problem. Pulling data from one table, that's easy. We can all do that. But when does it get tricky? When the info you need is split across two tables. Like, how do you find suppliers based on product prices when the suppliers are in one table and the prices are in a totally different one? That is the exact kind of puzzle we're going to solve today. So, first up on our list is the exists operator. Honestly, I think of this as our peekaboo tool. It lets you peek into another table and ask a really simple question. Hey, does this thing I'm looking for even exist over there?
Now here's the crucial thing to get about exists. It doesn't care what it finds. It doesn't care how many records it finds. All it cares about is whether its subquery finds at least one record. If it finds something, anything at all, it comes back and says true. If it looks and finds absolutely nothing, it says false. That's it. It's a simple yes or no check, which, by the way, can make it incredibly fast.
So how do you actually use it? Well, you just nest a little mini query, a subquery, inside the exists parentheses right in your where clause. And for every single row in your main query, the database stops, runs that little subquery, and the entire fate of that row depends on what it finds. If the subquery gets a hit, the row's in. If not, it's out. Okay, to make this a little less abstract, let's use a couple of tables we all know and love: suppliers and products. You can see they're linked together by the supplier ID. So we've got the supplier names over here and the product names and prices way over there. This is a perfect setup for our problem.
All right, let's put it all together. Imagine we need a list of every supplier who sells at least one product for less than 20 bucks. For each supplier, the subquery kicks in. It dives into the products table and asks, for this supplier, are there any products with a price under 20? The second it finds just one, bam, exists returns true, and that supplier's name gets put on our final list. See? Simple, but really, really powerful.
So exists is great for a simple yes or no. But what if you need a little more nuance? What if you need to compare a value from your main table against a whole list of possible values from another table? Well, that is a job for our next operator, any.
The any operator is all about flexibility. You can take a single value and check it against a whole list of values that your subquery spits out. And if your comparison, whether it's equals or greater than or whatever, is true for even one of the items in that list, any gives you a true. It just needs one win to call it a success.
And the key here is that any works with all the standard comparison operators you already use every day: equals, greater than, less than, the whole gang. This is what gives it so much versatility for checking against a whole range of values.
And here's what it looks like in practice. The structure is pretty simple, right? You've got your column, your comparison operator like a greater than sign, and then the keyword any. That's followed by your subquery, which is the part that actually generates that list of values you're comparing against.
For our next example, we're going to switch gears and look at the products and order details tables. The common link here, of course, is the product ID. We're going to use these to figure out which products have been ordered in specific quantities.
Okay, let's say we want a list of product names for any product that's ever been in an order with a quantity of exactly 10. So first, that subquery goes to work. It scans the order details table and makes a list of all the product IDs that show up with a quantity of 10. Then, the main query goes through the products table one by one, asking, is this product's ID equal to any of the IDs in that list we just made? If it finds a match, we get the product's name.
So, any is flexible. It only needs one match to be happy. But what if you need to be way, way stricter? What if your condition has to be true not just for any value, but for, well, all of them? This brings us to the ultimate test, the all operator.
The logic here is the total opposite of any. All only returns true if your comparison is valid for every single value that the subquery returns. If even one value in that list fails the test, the whole condition is false. It's a complete all-or-nothing deal.
Now take a look at the syntax. You'll notice it's identical to any. You literally just swap the keyword. But do not be fooled. As we're about to see, that one little four-letter word change has a massive impact on your results.
This is a fantastic example of where all can be a little tricky. Let's use our last query but just swap any for all. The subquery runs and it returns a list of product IDs. Let's say that list includes IDs 41 and 42. Now the outer query asks,
is this product's ID equal to all of these values? Well, think about it. Can a single product ID be equal to 42 times and 41 at the same time? Of course not. It's impossible. So the condition always fails. That's why using equals with all is pretty rare, but it's incredibly powerful with other operators. Think about finding a product that's more expensive than all the products from a competitor. That's where all really becomes a superstar. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. We've got exists for checking presence, any for finding at least one match, and all for demanding a universal match. Now let's put them head to head so you know exactly when to use each one.
Here is the absolute clearest way to think about the difference between any and all. Imagine your subquery gives you a list of numbers, 10, 20, and 50. If your condition is greater than any, you're asking if your value is bigger than at least one of them. So a number like 15 would be true because, hey, it's bigger than 10. But if your condition is greater than all, you're asking if your value is bigger than every single number on that list. In that case, 15 would be false. You need a number like 60 to get it true.
This right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. It boils everything down to its core. Use exists when you're just checking for presence. Is something there? Yes or no? Use any when you're looking at possibility. Does it match at least one option? And use all when you're demanding perfection, when your value has to pass the test against every single option. Just remember, presence, possibility, or perfection.
And this quote really just nails it. At the end of the day, any and all are your tools for comparing one thing to many things. It's how you break free from those simple one-to-one comparisons and start asking much more interesting, much more insightful questions of your data.
So we've armed you with some seriously powerful tools for finding data that matches your criteria. But that leaves us with one last question to chew on. You now know how to find what's there, but how would you use these same ideas to find what isn't? Think about it. How would you write a query to find a list of all the products that have never, ever been ordered? That's a fun little challenge for you to take away.